Discussion, Walter.
I think this will be my last proposed amendment. Paragraph 5.1, and Wayne caught this and I missed it. The last sentence of paragraph 5.1 on page 3, that the fee amount of $5,000 per month shall remain unchanged for the duration of the term and any renewal term. I would make an amendment that we drop the words "and any renewal term."
If I may.
Gary?
Now, with the understanding that, okay, with all the talk of renewal and all that sort of thing, and if the amendment that it's an initial term of 5 years and a renewal, an additional renewal term of 5 years, if that is taken out, then it would be your thought that it could be renewed at the end of this next 5-year period with no payment to Heart of the Arts. Is that what you're saying?
And before the audience storms us, I am not suggesting that language. It could go to 6,000 or 20 or 0, that we not do what Wayne pointed out, appear to lock ourselves into the 5,000 for a 10-year period.
Would you be, if I may, would you be amenable to language that said the fee, any fee applied to the second or the renewal term will be negotiated between the parties without a number attached to it?
So how would the last sentence read, Gary?
Say this, well, I'll leave that to the city attorney.
Or just leave it out.
Mayor?
Or just leave it out.
Please, Randy. Yes, sir.
Could I ask Walter what he wants to have happen, and then I can tell you how to do it?
I want to not lock in $5,000 a month for 10 years.
For either party?
Well, only one party's paying it. I guess there's another party because they're taking the money, but
What I mean is it's either going to have to be renegotiated or that there isn't any, right? Or it's the same.
I would
so-
prefer the renegotiated,
Okay,
that there's the ability to renegotiate it
okay.
after the first 5 year. If there's an agreement to renew for an additional 5 years, that $5,000 amount be part of the discussion, just like we're doing right now. So whatever language is required, Randy, to accomplish that. And Gary still looks puzzled.
Not puzzled, I'm just wondering what the operator would have to say about that.
Okay. I'll invite another comment here. We don't have a second on this, Jenny,
Oh,
so
it's
we have
okay.
Walter's motion, so go ahead.
Yeah, so Heart of the Arts actually has had this discussion at our board, and we would be open to having a negotiation at the point of renewal for our new term and having it looked at separately. So if that is on the floor currently, then Heart of the Arts is amenable to saying at the point of renewal that we would renegotiate the terms of the agreement at that time, like we're doing now.
And I'll
Because,
second Walter's amendment.
I mean, like we're doing now, where we discovered 20 years with no fee doesn't make sense in terms of continuing our progress on the facilities renovations. In 5 years, we will be able to see where Heart of the Arts is, how much more of the building's been renovated, and I think it's reasonable at that time to look at this again and see what the structure should be.
Okay, thank
Correct,
you.
Board?
We have some language.
Okay, and tell us where you're planning to put this, please.
This would be in the last sentence of section 5.1. The last sentence would now read, "This fee amount of $5,000 per month shall remain unchanged for the duration of the term and shall be renegotiated between the party or by the parties prior to any renewal term."
Is that acceptable to the maker of the motion and to the seconder?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see, who had their hand up next? Tom?
Well, I just wanted to say that I intend on supporting the amendments in the final contract approval. I feel that the community center that we now know as the 1912 Center is an essential part of the community, as our streets, our police department, our fire department, the Parks and Rec department. It's a critical part of what this community is, and so I'm excited to support this, and I will continue to show up on occasion at the 1912 Center and shovel snow in the wintertime like I have in the past. So I just wanted to put that out there.
That's worth
I
something
do.
to
I'm one of the people that come and help. So I think that we all have to pitch in. It is our community center, after all. It used to be downstairs in this building, and we've moved it out and moved it up. So we'll keep moving it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne?
I'm going to move on to something else.
Oh, no. Okay.
The question I had highlighted on page 10 of 30, which is section 7, real and personal property taxes. It states the operator has to pay whatever taxes. My question is, what taxes would even be levied on that building?
If they belong to the city, no taxes. But if if the operator is using them for a commercial purpose and making money off that, then they could be taxed as personal property, or the income on it could be taxed. That's between the operator and the Latah County Assessor and the Idaho State Tax Commission, as far as I'm concerned. Nothing the city owns would be taxed.
Right, okay.
Okay. Sue?
I think that has to do with personal property, like, say, for example, a stove. Right now, if a church, from what I knew in my former life, if a church bought wine for its own use, they didn't pay any use tax on it. But if they used it for a fundraiser or gave it away or something else, then they did pay use tax on it. So I think when the stoves may be being used for, Mr. Resbach probably knows more about this, but it might have a difference between the uses, and I think what they're talking more about is personal property as opposed to the land.
Wayne, do you have a follow-up on that one?
No?
No. Okay, then Walter's next.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Question for Randy with his able backup and Gary. 672, Randy, please.
I got 6.
The next to last sentence
What
of
page?
235.
Do you want it on the
Of
bottom?
301.
Oh, she's,
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
you
on,
moved the
I'm
other
on
page
the
number.
other kind of page
6.
number. Thank you.
see how much paper we're saving? 300 and,
Randy, this has to do with
Pages.
the last amendment, which talked about during the initial term and renegotiating for the renewal term, but this is toward the utility fee. And I'm looking at the next to last sentence. It says, "This utility fee amount of $35,000 per year shall remain unchanged for the duration of the renewal term." Is that a carryover of the original writing of this document before we got the redlined version stuff tonight? And that's the first question, and does something need to be done about that? The second question, same sentence, is, should I offer an amendment to my own amendment that we include the previously agreed to language on the $5,000 in the $35,000 item as well?
Was that what Jenny addressed in her presentation about keeping fee constant on that piece?
It had to do with the city would have the same line item in the budget no matter what the expenses were to Heart of the Arts. But specifically, we've been treating the two fees simultaneously, so we would be okay with that utility also being negotiated at the point of renewal. Both of those can be under discussion.
Thank you. Let's get this here. Randy?
My answer is that I don't know if it's the same as a carryover or if it was renegotiated, but I'm sure it was that fee was discussed between Dwight and Heart of the Arts. Mm-hmm. There are two fees, and they're not the same the way I read them.
That's correct.
That's correct.
Right, and so
Or agreed.
It depends on what the council wants. I will write what you want, but
Okay.
there's nothing if you want to keep it the same, typically what happens when somebody has a renewal is they renew on about the same terms as they had in their initial term. Otherwise, people usually just renegotiate. So I don't know how to advise the council about what they're trying to do, but if everything's up for renegotiation, then maybe we should just renegotiate. I thought most of these things were going to be discussed at the administrative committee, and now we have quite a number of changes.
Yeah.
And I would prefer, if this is what's going to continue to happen, some time to reflect on that to make sure that the document now is internally consistent, because I can't guarantee you that in fact it is.
I think we have a short stack of amendments to the original motion that are manageable. What happens next with this, I'm not sure.
I want to.
So, Walter.
Let me finish this one, if I will.
All right.
I believe the present wording in the next to last sentence of 672 is confusing because it speaks to for the duration of the renewal term. And to me, that doesn't speak to paying $35,000 a month for the what we're now calling an initial term. So I don't think they want to get shorted $35,000 for each year for 5 years. So therefore, I would suggest to my seconder that the last amendment wording be carried into 672 to make the two consistent. That it be $35,000 per year for the initial term.
If I may?
Gary?
Does that not work?
So what you're saying is you want the same, the renewal term to be renegotiated at the time of the renewal?
No, the ability to renegotiate, yes. Or agreed upon.
It's internally consistent as it's written now.
Yeah.
That $35,000 is for the initial term of 5 years, plus the renewal term of the additional 5 years.
It's in there twice, so it,
Yeah. I think we're
It's
getting
in
a heck
there.
of a
It's
deal at
consistent.
$35,000 a year.
But if what you're after is you want that to be renegotiated before the renewal, then that's a totally different concept.
Not before the renewal.
Okay, I guess I'm not understanding.
Okay, why don't we do this? Let's forget I said anything about 672.
Okay,
But
good.
my understanding, the way
Okay, thank you.
672 reads, is that it says at the first part that during the term, which is the initial term, we pay $35,000 annually for those things that are listed within that paragraph. And then that if the renewal is accepted, then you continue for the next 5 years paying $35,000 per year for those same things. That's what it says. If that's not what you want, you need to tell me what you want. If you want to renegotiate it, then we would need to change the second reference, the one that talks about the renewal term.
I think what Walter said was we were just going to forget that he said anything more about 6.7.
I am.
And
That's what I
so,
heard.
yeah,
I'm looking at Jenny, but I'm going to forget I said anything.
okay. Yeah, further discussion, Wayne?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think there's been some decent amendments have been made to this. I think we could spend most of the evening taking this contract apart and rewording things, and that's really not my desire. Therefore, I'm going to call for the motion.
Amen.
question.
Call for the question.
For the question.
Call for all the questions.
Going to call for the question. Everybody okay? Ready to vote? Is everybody ready to
It
vote?
requires a two-thirds vote to do that.
Call for the question?
It does.
Okay, we'll do a
Motion
roll
losing
call
debate.
vote then. We've had a call for the question. Do we hear a second?
Yes.
There's Dan. Okay, we'll start the roll call vote with you, Walter.
Aye.
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 Okay, ready to vote. So we have this stack of amendments here that actually reminds me of the one photo we had up there with the table with the books on it. Yeah. Anyway, okay, the first one was put forward by Walter pertaining to the change to Section 5.1 with regard to renegotiating the amount of terms of renewal. And does anybody need clarification of that? Okay, we'll start that roll call vote with you, Tim. This is Walter's most recent amendment pertaining to 5.1.
To renegotiate the 5,000 at the end of, or no.
Which
to
was
renegotiate the-
acceptable to Heart of the Arts as well.
Yeah. No.
Aye.
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 Okay, that motion carries. Okay. The next one was Tom's motion pertaining to keeping the committee at 5 members. And that was seconded as well, instead of changing to 7. Okay? Got that one right? Yep. Okay. We'll start the roll call vote with Walter.
Just a clarification.
Yes.
And the wording that the city shall appoint remains.
Right.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yes.
And
As it
I would
exists.
vote aye.
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 No.
Aye.
No.
Okay, that motion carries. Then we have Walter's motion regarding removal of the language pertaining to HVAC and utilities because it was reportedly redundant in section 6.7.2. Okay. You need clarification of that before voting? Okay, Tim, we'll start with you.
Aye.
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 No.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Then we come back to Sue's amendment that had to do with the changing the language from to 5 years and 5 years for the renewal option. Okay, any clarification of that?
Yes, ma'am, sorry,
Instead-
I was still on the last one making notes, please.
Instead of reference to 5 years and 10 years, the reference is to 5 years and then 5 years.
No, right, instead of 10 years, it was 5
Right.
years and 5 years.
Right, right.
Got it.
Yeah, okay. We'll
Ready to
start with
vote?
you.
Aye.
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 Okay, the motion carries as well. And then we'll come back to our original motion put forward by Tim that has to do with approving the proposed agreement with the changes brought forward by Dwight in this supplemental document with the red on it, as well as Tom Lamar's recommendation and David Hall's as well, pertaining to changing the word subsidy to payment on Section 5.
Mayor?
Yes.
that's
There
part of
was
the
a
original
discussion that I've got in my notes about making explicit that the mayor appoints and the council approves. It wasn't.
No.
We
No.
figured that was, if the city,
You're just going to leave that alone?
That was just
Okay.
discussion.
Yeah.
It was not put forward as a motion.
I thought the subsidy payment language was just part of the original motion.
It was.
yeah, that's what she
That was,
Okay,
that's
I'm
when,
sorry.
we're on the original motion now, and as Tim put it forward, it was a document that you'd originally received in addition to the modifications in Dwight's, the document that Dwight handed out, plus the language change from subsidy to payment.
Yes.
Okay? So as amended, yeah, we'll
To
start.
include this.
To include those changes
And the other amendments that we just passed.
Yep.
and the other
Because
amendments.
some of those amendments change my motion.
And the other, as amended.
Okay.
As amended.
Yeah, as
Thank
amended. Okay, got it? Ready? Walter, we'll start with you.
Aye.
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 That motion carries unanimously. Phew, I think we did it.
Madam Mayor?
Thank you, everybody, for your support of Heart of the Arts and the 1912 Community Center. Walter?
I want to compliment the mayor. I've watched the city of Lewiston over the years never to be able to get through a second amendment, much less through, how many was it? 5? 4 or 5?
Well,
Also, a comment, if I may, regarding Randy's last question about the mayor appoints and the council approves. We did not codify that in this, but the discussion I heard from Gary was that was the way it should be. I didn't hear anybody objecting, so were we kind of there?
I think what I said was, it was my impression that is what we had followed. The mayor said that
No.
isn't always what we had followed. Council seems comfortable with appointed by the city. I'm assuming that would mean bring it before the council?
Right,
Is
the
that your
mayor appoints,
understanding,
the
Mayor?
council approves. That was what I
yeah.
gathered.
And we haven't done that with all of
Change
the,
of
with
practice.
some of
Yeah,
our
we're just
ad
gonna have
hoc things and whatnot, but I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So